I think that the best thing that the Nihil project did for me as an artist was in some sense to set me free. Installing for a second time at the school where the project sort of first began in its nascent stage feels freeing. And in retrospect, it's easier for me to understand why I began all of that. The need came out of a deep feeling of loneliness. I felt really lonely at that time. In the 4-year process, that need has revealed everything that's important to me about making art, and then has allowed me to move past the initial impetus, the initial loneliness. Things have gone from feeling like a estranged figure in the desert, some ragged figure in the desert trying to figure out his life, and somebody now who has a family, has a 4-year-old little girl, and is like kind of thrust back into life and the world. I made the Hermit at this particular size and shape for the gymnasium part of the abandoned school. Just comes from the experience of watching Mila play in this, what we call the Hermit's hut. It comes from an abandoned shelter that I found in the forest. Anytime I've made drawings of or referenced my daughter, it's always also been a reference to my youngest brother who died when I was a kid. I've always had this tendency to sort of imagine his aging or his imagined life congruently with hers. So there's a version of him who exists in my imagination as a 4-year-old. In a sense, it's maybe somewhat of a self-portrait as well. Seeing myself in her, seeing myself in whomever might have chosen to live in a shelter by themselves in the forest. That quiet figure that exists in the background of my imagination, sort of in my unconscious, is him in one sense, it's her in one sense, and it is like this archetype of another kind of hermit, like aspect of my own soul, I think you could say. Somehow I created a structure by which I could begin a practice, like a contemplative practice. One of the very first kind of rules of Nihil was the rule of non-meaning. I went out onto the landscape and I saw something and I drew it, then it could end up in the painting, but I couldn't have a say on why it ended up in the painting or what it meant. Meaning is unavoidable. Don't have objective observations. You can't see things outside of yourself. I'm realizing that I don't need to do this anymore as a strategy to have a deep experience of my own life. The trick I played on myself to try to inhabit a meaningless world so as to surprise myself was really just a way of me removing prior assumptions and past habits as a way to perceive in a deeper way than I did before. So that it wasn't that I could operate in a meaningless world, but that my sense of meaning came from a deeper place than it did before.